Buongiorno YouTube. Say good morning, Emma. Buongiorno. Good morning. Chris this morning really needs a coffee. Guess what time you went to bed last night?
Living life on a paradise island can have its limitations.
Pronta per il bagnetto? Pronta?
You can have a bath. Oh yeah. Splish, splash, splish, splash. You've had your bath. Now you've got some cream coming.
Vuoi che ci pensi io a creare un mistero per te?
Sì, per favore.
Well, guess what I've been doing today? Digging a hole. So what's happened here then? Well, some of you will be very glad to hear this actually. Last night this was really free. This morning it was really free. I was just finishing the final lapping and starting to wash out all the abrasive particles, and that would have been that. But then as I was doing the last bits, as I was turning it, I noticed a tiny little hairline crack. So I obviously wasn't happy with that. I dropped the rudder, not digging the hole initially, I just dropped it out so I could have access to what was going on, and basically with a screwdriver I managed to break the epoxy work that I'd done. So the people who said fix it properly, fit new bushes, you were right. The West system epoxy repair, it's not something that shouldn't be done. I do believe in it in a certain sense. On this occasion it didn't work, so would I, if I could go back to 9 months ago, would I replace the bushes straight away? Yes I would. And you know, I'll just take that on the chin. And the good thing for you is I learn from my mistakes, and it's always great to learn from your mistakes, but it's better to learn from other people's mistakes. So on this occasion you can learn from my mistake, and I would recommend that you replace your bushes if you have wear like this. Today I've been digging a hole, so I wanted to go straight down, which I did, and then I hit this. A rock solid base, I couldn't go any deeper, so I had to start going that way. Then this thing was in the way, I moved that a little bit with a lever. It was a pain in the neck, but anyway, in the end I got there, and now this should be... Oh yeah, I also had to move the boat, which Rossella didn't even know. I moved the boat today, darling. I very carefully and gently jacked the rear of it up and the front of it down, just to give me a little bit more clearance to get this out. And now I'm going to hopefully fairly easily remove the lower bush, and I can take all different measurements on the rudder shaft and in the rudder tube there. And I'm also going to replace the upper bearing while I'm here. I was talking about doing a shim job on that to reduce the play, but while I'm doing this I've bought a big bar of Delrin, and I'm going to get 2 new bushes manufactured. So this job will have been done by the book as the boat was built, and in the end I'm happy about that because there will be no doubts in my mind. So I've been taking lots and lots of measurements, as you can imagine, with a vernier caliper to measure the rudder shaft and the apertures in the boat, and I've put together a couple of drawings. I also spent a lot of time online looking at materials. I'm going for Delrin, and I've looked at the expansion, contraction, water absorption, etc. of Delrin to work out the clearances required and the sizes that I need for the different parts. And I've made up a drawing here of each bush, and yesterday I ordered some Delrin rod, so here it is, it arrived today. I paid twice as much as I should have. It was £100 instead of £50 because I was in a rush, I wanted it today. So The cheapest place I found was called directplastics.co.uk, and I actually bought it from RS online because of their delivery. So I'm about to go to a local engineering shop and have them make up 2 new bushes for me. After all that. Thank you very much, Clive.
Pleasure.
Been a
All the
pleasure.
best, Chris.
Thank you
And
very
good
much.
luck.
Cheers. Not yet, darling. When you're a bit older, you can have the camera. Take us on your little adventures, can't you? Trying to grab the microphone. Big fluffy microphone. There it is. Hello. Here we are again, playing with the rudder. Well, I've got the 2 new bushes in. The upper bush is absolutely perfect. The lower bush isn't quite perfect, I'm afraid. The never-ending story, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. We have a little bit of play in the rudder. I mean, you do want some play in the rudder because you don't want it to get stuck, do you, Christopher? No, you don't. But we've got a little bit too much. I want this to be perfect. After all this messing around, I want it to be perfect. So I've spoken to the guy who did this, and by the way, this is my fault. It's got nothing to do with the guy who made these. He made them to my spec. This is my problem that I created with my calculations and my measurements. So it's all on me, guys, again. And he's going to make me a new bush on Monday. So that's where we're at. Now, in the meantime, hello little birdies. In the meantime, I've got lots of other things to do, so that isn't a problem. It's not as if I'm going to be twiddling my thumbs. Some of the things I've been doing today, I've been preparing our new anchor, which you've probably never heard of. We've got a 16 kilo DC anchor. Now what that stands for isn't very clear. Could it be delta copy, perhaps? I don't know. It is similar to a delta. If you look at the shape of it, it's a very similar design. It's got a weighted tip. Again, I spent ages online looking at lots of different things, and the DC anchor has got really, really good results in pull tests and also the ease with which it sets. It's got a really good reputation from the limited amount of information there is out there about these. Like I say, they're not well known. This is made by Plastimo, or on behalf of Plastimo, which are a big company. It's Lloyd's Register high holding power approved. So I think it's a good choice, and it was cheap. I believe it was £139.99p including delivery, which is a very good deal. We've got ourselves a beautiful anchor swivel here, made by Kong. This is Italian. and it's a really nice design. I'm not going to take it apart, but basically to remove this, you remove that bolt, which is secured with a thread lock, and this is captive, this pin, so that's just one piece, and the two halves open up. It's kind of a clamshell design. They open up, and then within here there's another clamshell with a really thick meaty chunk of material in the middle here where this rotates, and then again you've got a captive pin here. This is clever. You can only undo this by removing this clamshell, and then you open this up and you rotate it around. It's only when this part is facing around 180 degrees that you can take off the end of the swivel there. So I really like it. I've got a shackle here. You might wonder what that's for. Can you guess what that's for before I tell you? Let's see if you're right. Basically, without that shackle, it's possible to put this in such a way, the swivel, that when you pull up on it, it kind of gets jammed underneath here. But with the shackle on, that doesn't happen. This is a very strong bit of gear. It's 5,000 kilo rated with a straight pull, and on a sideways pull like that, it's 2,000 kg rated. So it's a nice, it was expensive, but it's nice, and it's very important, you know, the weakest link and all that. I've also marked up our chain. Today we've got 100 meters of anchor chain, and I use these little rubber chain markers, which are really handy. You just push them into place. They don't interfere with the articulation of the chain, and they are permanent. Unlike paint, if you mark your chain up with paint, then you have to redo it every so often because it comes off. And I managed to do the whole 100 meters using 3 little packets of these with 10 in each pack, by using a kind of very boring system which I won't explain to you, but I know how much chain I've got out, and that's very important, as I'm sure you are all aware. I've then got the sail drive to finish off. I'm going to continue sanding around here. I'm abrading this as well with sandpaper to give it a nice key so that it sticks. I'm going to be sticking it on with CT1. Just thought I'd mention this. After I refitted the anode, I do what I always do, and I checked it with a multimeter. Basically, you want there to be almost no resistance between the anode and whatever it is that it's protecting. So in this case, it's protecting the sail drive. So if I put my multimeter onto the resistance setting, and if I go from, doesn't matter which way round your leads are, doesn't make any difference. If you go from the anode, dig that right in there, and then you could test on the sail drive, but I don't want to damage the paint. So if I instead just go to the prop shaft, then there we are, 0.2 ohms. So that's a very, very low reading, and that's great. That's what we want to see. It can happen that you reconnect the anode, and if you measure that, you might get 10 ohms. If I were to walk around this boatyard now and measure the resistance between the anode and the things that are protecting, you will quite often find that they're not actually doing anything because they're just sitting there, but they're not connected properly electrically. So it's worth spending 2 minutes to check. And then if you don't have the resistance, the low resistance that you want, you can just remove the anode, clean up the mating surfaces with a little bit of sandpaper, and then refit it and try again. That should have fixed it. Well, it's not exactly a sunny day today, but Rossella...
It's not raining at the moment.
Yeah, it's not raining, and Rossella and Emma are going stir crazy in the boat, so you're going to go out for a walk, aren't you?
Yes.
You're going to go out for a walk! Yay! Walk with Mummy! Yay! Have a nice walk.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Ciao, ciao. Da, da, da.
Another little job for today. I've seen that there's a puddle of water in the bottom of the anchor locker, and that's because the drain holes, one port and one starboard, are up off the bottom, and I don't really want the new chain sitting in a puddle of water all the time, so I'm going to make a little base in here. I've just made a template out of cardboard, and I'm going to use a pallet, a plastic pallet that the batteries came on. I'm going to cut that into a little shape that's going to fit in there, and then that will allow the water to drain away and the chain can sit on top of the dry pallet. That's better. I'm also applying an experimental homebrew treatment to the propeller, but there's no point in me telling you what it is yet because I have no idea if it's going to work and it may fall off the first time I start the engine in the water.